Somewhere in the bogs of northern Europe, the ground has been quietly preserving a secret for thousands of years. Not hiding it, preserving it. Skin, hair, fingernails, stomach contents, all still there, waiting to tell you exactly what was done to these people and why. A peat bog is not just wet dirt. The water is freezing, almost completely without oxygen, and soaked in acid from centuries of decomposing moss. Normal bacteria cannot survive in it. So when a body sinks below the waterline fast enough, it doesn't rot. It's tanned, the same chemical process used to turn hide into leather. The acid locks the skin in place. The cold keeps scavengers away. The result is a body that can sit underground for 2,000 years and come out with its fingerprints, its eyelashes, and its last meal still intact. Over 1,000 of these bog bodies have been pulled out of the ground across Denmark, Germany, Ireland, the Netherlands, and England. For a long time, people assumed most were simple accidents. Travelers who lost their footing in the dark. Then scientists looked closer, and what they found didn't look like an accident at all. In 1950, two brothers cutting peat in a Danish bog hit something soft with a spade. They called the police immediately, certain they'd found a recent murder. What they'd actually found had died over 2,000 years earlier. His face was so well preserved investigators could still see the stubble on his chin. He became known as Tollund Man, one of the best preserved human bodies ever discovered, ancient or modern. Around his neck was a braided leather cord, pulled tight enough to leave a groove in his skin. He hadn't drowned. He'd been hanged, and then placed carefully into the bog, his eyes gently closed, his expression almost peaceful. If you're trying to hide a body, you don't take the time to close its eyes. Tollund Man isn't alone. Old Croghan Man, found in Ireland, had cut marks on his arms consistent with being restrained. He'd been stabbed, decapitated, and cut in half at the waist. His nipples had also been sliced. That last detail matters more than it sounds. In some Iron Age cultures, sucking a king's nipples was a gesture of submission. Cutting them may have stripped a failed or false king of his right to rule, right before his execution. Some bog bodies show what researchers call overkill, multiple methods of death applied to a single person, strangled and stabbed, hanged and drowned. If the goal was only to end a life, one method would have been enough. The layering of violence suggests something else, a ritual with rules that had to be followed in order. And the bodies weren't just dumped. They were positioned, curled into a fetal shape, pinned down with wooden stakes, not to stop them from escaping the bog physically, but, some researchers argue, to keep something else from escaping. The most widely accepted theory is ritual sacrifice. These victims may have been offered to the bog itself, treated as a gateway to something beyond the world of the living. Archaeologists have pulled enormous quantities of non-human offerings out of these same bogs. Weapons deliberately bent and broken before being thrown in. Gold jewelry. Entire wagons. The bog wasn't a burial site. It was treated like an altar. Roman writers describe tribes in this exact region punishing certain offenses, cowardice, and what they called moral crimes by drowning the offender in a bog and pinning their body down with wooden hurdles. Whether victim or offering, these people weren't hidden. They were placed deliberately in a spot their community believed could reach something greater than themselves. For over 2,000 years, the bog kept its side of the arrangement. It preserved exactly what was given to it, down to the fingerprints, waiting for someone to finally understand what they were looking at. We still don't fully know their names or the specifics of what they did or didn't do to end up there. But we know this: someone stood at the edge of that water, believing they were doing something necessary. And the ground remembered every detail, so that thousands of years later, you would still be able to see the look on a dead man's face.